South Carolina Real Estate Exam 2 2025, 100 questions with explained answers. Question 1. What category do temporary or easily movable things or objects typically fall under in real estate? Fixtures, chattels, improvements, structures. Chattels is another name for personal property. These items are not considered part of the real estate because they are not permanently attached. Examples include clothing, cars, and freestanding appliances. Question 2. In a sale contract including removable items like paintings, what should the seller deliver with the deed? Maintenance records, proof of insurance, appraisal report, removable items in contract. While a deed transfers ownership of the real property, land and buildings, personal property included in a sale is often transferred via a bill of sale or simply delivered as per the specific terms of the purchase agreement. Question 3. Which of the following is not considered a fixture in real estate? Ceiling fan, built-in bookshelf, exterior fence, freestanding microwave. A fixture is an item that was once personal property but has been attached to the land or building in a permanent way. A freestanding microwave is simply plugged in and can be removed without damaging the property, making it personal property. Question 4. What is an adjustable rate mortgage, ARM, that allows the borrower to change to a fixed rate? Exchangeable ARM, convertible ARM, balloon ARM, ARM interchange. A convertible ARM offers the flexibility of an adjustable rate, often lower initially, with the option to convert to a stable fixed-rate mortgage during a specific window of time, protecting the borrower from future interest rate hikes. Question 5. Littoral property is situated on which type of location? Coastline, mountainous region, urban area, rural farmland. Littoral rights specifically apply to properties bordering static bodies of water like oceans, seas, or Great Lakes. This is distinct from riparian rights, which apply to flowing water like rivers. Question 6. In real estate, the term improvements is most closely associated with what? Landscaping features, structural repairs, building upgrades, property taxes. Improvements are any man-made additions to the land that increase its value. This includes buildings, fences, driveways, and sewers. Building upgrades specifically fall under this category as they enhance the utility of the structure. Question 7. Which term describes the rights of ownership including use, possession, enjoyment, and disposal? Eminent domain, adverse possession, zoning regulations, bundle of rights. The bundle of rights is the core concept of real property ownership. It suggests that property isn't just a physical object, but a collection of legal rights that can be separated, sold, or kept by the owner. Question 8. What is the term for the appropriation of land by the owner for public use, like streets in a subdivision? Easement, encroachment, dedication, abandonment. Dedication occurs when a developer gives land to a government entity for public use. This is standard in modern subdivisions where the city takes over the maintenance of the roads and sidewalks after the developer builds them. Question 9. What is the best way to determine if riparian rights are included in a property? Reviewing the deed, zoning regulations, property tax records, building permits. The deed is the primary document defining the extent of ownership and any specific rights, like water rights, or restrictions, like easements, that come with the land. It is the ultimate legal authority on the property's interests. Question 10. How is the boundary of a property altered? Zoning changes, eminent domain, land survey, title insurance. A land survey is a professional measurement of property lines. While it doesn't create new boundaries, it is the only legal way to document and certify changes to property lines or identify where boundaries actually lie. Question 11. Who is considered a riparian owner? Landowner near a river/stream, commercial owner, Suburban owner. A landlord. Riparian owners have legal rights to use water from the flowing source that touches their land. These rights generally allow for reasonable use as long as the use doesn't unfairly interfere with owners downstream. Question 12. In a physical sense, what does real estate encompass excluding? Buildings and structures, land and improvements, natural resources, personal belongings. Real estate includes the surface of the earth, the air above it, and the minerals below, plus all permanent man-made attachments. It explicitly excludes chattel or personal belongings like furniture and clothing. Question 13. What is the term for the removal of land when a stream suddenly changes its channel? Erosion, accretion, evulsion, alluvion. Evulsion is the sudden loss or addition of land due to an abrupt natural event, like a flood. This is different from erosion, which is a slow, gradual process. In evulsion, the owner usually does not lose title to the land that was moved. Question 14. What must a landowner who sells a 1-acre farm provide to make the sale valid? Building permit, updated tax records, environmental report, valid legal description. A deed must contain an accurate legal description, such as metes and bounds or lot and block, so that the exact boundaries of the land being transferred can be identified by a surveyor. Without this, the deed is void. Question 15. What is the term for the loss of real estate due to the gradual wearing away of soil? Erosion, encroachment, depletion, amortization. Erosion is the slow, natural process of soil being moved by wind or water. Under the law of accession, an owner can lose land through erosion or gain land through accretion, the gradual buildup of soil. Question 16. Which of the following is typically not considered real property? Land, buildings, vehicles, mineral rights. Vehicles are movable personal property, chattels. Land, buildings, fixtures, and mineral rights, subsurface rights, are all part of the real property bundle. Question 17. What is the term for a right or improvement that is inherent to a property and transfers with ownership? Easement, encumbrance, fixture, appurtenance. An appurtenance is something that belongs to the land. When the land is sold, the appurtenance, like a parking space, an easement, or a barn, automatically goes with it to the new owner. Question 18. In real property, what does the term fee signify? Ownership interest, rental payment, tax assessment, mortgage amount. The word fee comes from fiatum, meaning land held in inheritance. In modern law, it signifies an estate of inheritance, meaning an interest in land that can be passed down to heirs. Question 19. What is the term for crops that require annual planting and cultivation? Fructus industrials, perennial crops, annual crops, orchards, vineyards. Also known as emblements, annual crops are considered the personal property of the person who planted them. If a farm is sold, the seller usually has the right to return and harvest the crops they worked to grow that year. Question 20. A man bequeaths property to his son, but his wife claims an elective share. How is it distributed? Entirely to son, partially to both, entirely to wife. Court's discretion. The elective share is a state law designed to prevent a spouse from being completely disinherited. Even if a will leaves everything to a child, the surviving spouse has a legal right to elect to take a percentage of the estate instead. Question 21. What are ceiling tiles that drop into a metal frame considered in a building? Fixtures, personal property, easements, improvements. Because the metal grid is attached to the structure and the tiles are integrated into the building's design and utility, they are legally classified as fixtures that stay with the property during a sale. Question 22. All are involved in the secondary mortgage market except mortgage lenders, mortgage brokers, gov-sponsored enterprises, Home buyers. The secondary market is where existing mortgages are bought and sold as investments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Home buyers only participate in the primary market where the loan is actually originated. Question 23. What is the closest meaning of the term intestate? To die without a will, to die with multiple wills, to die without heirs, to die out of state. When someone dies intestate, their property is distributed according to state laws of descent. This ensures the property moves to the next of kin even if the deceased person failed to write a will. Question 24. What is a devise in real estate? Personal property transfer, leaving property in a will, a type of mortgage, tax assessment program. A devise is specifically a gift of real property by last will and testament. The person receiving the property is the devisee. Gifts of money or personal property are technically called bequests or legacies. Question 25. If a person dies intestate and no heirs are found, what process returns the property to the state? Probate, foreclosure, eminent domain, escheat. Escheat is a safety net for the state. It prevents property from becoming ownerless. If no heirs can be found after a diligent search, the ownership reverts to the government. Question 26. In the probate process, who is typically the last to receive payment? Creditors, executor, beneficiaries, attorney. The estate must first pay taxes, funeral expenses, legal fees, and all outstanding debts to creditors. The beneficiaries only receive what remains after the estate's obligations have been fully satisfied. Question 27. Which word does not belong with the others? Warranty, deed, title, insurance. Warranty, deed, title, insurance. Warranty, deed, and title are all legal concepts directly involved in the transfer and evidence of ownership. Insurance, specifically title insurance, is a separate contract designed to protect against loss from defects in that title. Question 28. Who typically selects the administrator of an estate? The court, deceased's attorney, family members, the executor. An administrator is appointed by the court when someone dies without a will. If there is a will, the person in charge is called an executor because they execute the instructions of the will. Question 29. Under which condition would a property owner have riparian rights? Adjacent to a river, has mineral rights. In historic district, has an easement. Riparian rights are automatic for owners whose land touches a flowing body of water. These rights include the right to drink the water, use it for irrigation, or use it for domestic purposes. Question 30. Which statement about a party wall is not true? Each has an easement, jointly owned, shared maintenance, can be removed at any time. A party wall sits on the line between two properties, like in a townhouse. Neither owner can remove or significantly alter the wall without the other's permission because it provides structural support for both buildings. Question 31. What is the primary purpose of the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC? Real estate laws, criminal offenses, commercial transactions, employment laws. The UCC is a set of standardized laws that govern commercial transactions, like the sale of goods and secured interests in personal property. In real estate, it usually applies when personal property is used as collateral for a loan. Question 32. What economic concept is used when a shop is placed on a highway near a large city? Supply and demand, economies of scale, market segmentation, location advantage. Also known as situs, location advantage refers to the economic preference for a particular geographic area. This is why commercial properties in high-traffic areas are significantly more valuable than those in remote areas. Question 33. In which of the following would you find the four unities: time, interest, possession, title, joint tenancy? Tenancy in common, life estate, leasehold estate. Joint tenancy requires all 4 unities. If 4 people buy a house as joint tenants, they must all get the deed at the same time, have the same 25% share, and have equal rights to occupy the whole property. Question 34. If a city passes a law prohibiting 6-story buildings where they were once allowed, this is non-conforming use, variance, spot zoning, down zoning. Down zoning occurs when a municipality changes the zoning to a less intensive use, example, from high-rise to low-rise, or from commercial to residential. This often results in a decrease in the property's potential value. Question 35. What type of ownership is established by selling stock and granting proprietary leases in a building? Cooperative, condominium, joint tenancy, corporate. In a co-op, you don't own your specific unit, you own shares in a corporation that owns the whole building. Your shares entitle you to a proprietary lease to live in a specific apartment. Question 36. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 prohibits discrimination based on what? Age, gender, income level, race. While later amendments added gender, disability, and familial status, the original 1968 Act was a landmark civil rights law that specifically targeted discrimination based on race, color, religion, and national origin. Question 37. What type of finance involves the seller keeping the deed until the buyer pays in full? Lease agreement, land contract, reverse mortgage, wraparound mortgage. In a land contract, or contract for deed, the buyer takes possession and pays the seller in installments. However, legal title stays with the seller until the final payment is made. The buyer holds equitable title in the meantime. Question 38. What is the first month's interest on a $25,000 loan at 9%? $56.25, $187.50, $87.75, $17.25. To calculate, multiply the principal, $25,000, by the annual interest rate, 0.09, to get $2,250. Then divide by 12 months to get the interest for a single month, $187.50. Question 39. If a grantor signs a deed Saturday but delivers it Sunday, what is true? Invalid deed. Valid since any time. Revocable after delivery. Grantee has equitable title. A deed is not legally effective until delivery and acceptance. Before the physical delivery occurs, the grantee may have a contractual right to the property, equitable title, but the legal title doesn't shift until the deed changes hands.